Welcome, Christian Metal Group community. We're here. My name is Jimmy, and I'm here with Jay. We're on the leadership team for the Christian Metal Group. And we have Tak. He is from the Japanese Christian metal band Imari Tones. How are you doing today, Tak?
こんにちは。タクと申します。なんとかやってます。ありがとうございます。Thank you for this opportunity.
Yeah, you are very welcome. So, Tak, tell us, did you grow up in a religious home?
Wow, that's a difficult question. I grew up in an ordinary Japanese background, and that means pretty much regular. And that means we don't know anything about Christianity other than Christmas, Santa Claus thing every year, every winter, because
Sure.
that's a commercial thing. We have that, like buying stuff, buying presents, and other than that, we didn't know anything about Christianity, not Jesus.
Sure.
So in Japan, we have this culture thing, not really religion, which is Buddhism and Shinto mixed.
Okay.
But most of the people here are not serious about Buddhism, and so it's like a social custom or just a culture thing. But if you talk about religion or being spiritual, actually my mother was a very spiritual person, and she was into those spiritual things. Mm-hmm. So I guess that had some kind of influence on me.
Sure. So also, did you grow up in a musical home?
Yes, that's true. My mother was a piano teacher, music teacher, all her life, and my father was into classical music, and he was singing in a local chorus group, and actually that's how they met. My parents. Yeah, that's how they met. My mother went to play piano with those chorus groups, and that's where they met.
Nice.
And I have a little sister, and I have a sister, and she went on to be a piano teacher too. She went to a music college, and she's really talented, much more talented than I am.
Nice.
So yeah. I quit piano lesson when I was 10 or 11 or something like that.
Oh no.
And my parents allowed me to quit. My parents said, okay, yeah, you can quit piano because you are a boy. Because this is in Japan, you are going to be a businessman. So you can quit music, you can quit piano. But ironically, after that, I fell in love with rock music, and I started playing guitar, and so it's really ironic.
Nice.
Well, cool. Well, how did you get into metal?
Basically, my I don't know what to think, but probably I'm older than I look, and it was back in 90s. I was a teenager, and so heavy metal music, that kind of, especially those hair metal bands from 80s, that kind of music was already out of fashion. But for some reasons, I fell in love with those classic bands from 80s, like Ozzy Osbourne, Judas Priest,
Yeah.
Iron Maiden, that kind of stuff. I fell in love, and it's a long story, but
Were
that's
you
why. Mm.
were you watching these bands on TV, listening to them on the radio, or going to a record store and buying their albums? How are you discovering their music?
Back in 90s, music industry was still big, and we had so many Japanese music. Uh, I think you call it J-pop,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah,
and to me, that kind of commercial music was a torture.
yeah.
Uh,
Sure.
and so that kind of classic rock, classic metal, hard rock thing from overseas was my refugee hiding place
Yeah,
to
Gotcha.
me. Mm.
Yeah. Like therapy. Mhm.
Yeah, therapy. It was a therapy for me.
Yeah, absolutely. I, I will say, um, a lot of my friends who tour love going to Japan. In a lot of ways, it seems that Japan has a greater appreciation for music's sake, than we do in the United States. So in the United States, there seem to be trends. But in Japan and even a lot of other places like Europe, there people don't tend to follow trends as much. So I mean, there are trends, but it's like you can find people that love your music even when in the United States, you're like, oh, this is old, you know, this is that kind of thing. So it probably is it easier to play a classic style of metal in your area? Are there a lot of people that appreciate that style of music?
Uh, so many things can be said about the cultural difference between the United States and Japan,
Mm-hmm.
and you can say so many things about the audience and the market. And we have some good things and bad things.
Okay.
And one thing one thing you notice is in Japan, so many people still buy CDs, which
Right.
is really funny.
yeah.
Uh, there are
I
so
do.
many reasons for
Do
this.
I
Mm.
do as well. There's still
Yeah.
collectors around.
Yeah, we do.
And it's also true for to a certain extent that Japanese people love old stuff like classic stuff like
Mm-hmm.
many people still love music from 70s 60s,
Mm-hmm.
so to some extent you can say that, and because it's a cultural difference, it's a different society, different world, east and the west, the east and the west. So in Japan, usually, generally speaking, we have so much respect for the Western culture, including classical music, and basically rock music is the Western culture thing.
Mm-hmm.
So generally speaking, we have this huge respect for music
Yeah.
from the UK and the USA,
Okay.
uh, and so I think that's why. Um,
Mhm.
and another
Do
thing is American people, you party so hard,
Yeah.
like every day, every night. But in
I
Japan,
see it.
we don't party that we don't party that that we don't party very
Often.
often. Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's why
Mm.
we are working all the time. Like 24 hours we are working. That's Japanese people. And
Yeah.
we are very quiet,
Mm-hmm.
and you can and so many American bands say, you know, when they play in Japan, you can hear a pin drop
Mm.
during a quiet song. A pin drops, and you can hear that sound, and that's
Yeah.
kind of true. And if and because that's because Japanese people are shy, and talk we don't talk so much, and so we are being quiet and focused listening. That's the
Mm.
Japanese audience. So on the other side, uh, we don't go very crazy like
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. We have
Right.
much less here. So
Mm-hmm.
we used to have this metal music festival called Loud Park. You know that
Okay.
one?
I'm
Yeah,
not no, but
we had
now I
that
have
one.
to look at
That was a very big, probably the biggest metal festival in Japan. We used to have
hmm.
and so many bands from overseas came and played that festival. But they, I heard that so many times because Japanese audience was so quiet. Many musicians from the United States, they always said, "Hey, can't you go any louder? This is Loud Park. You guys are so quiet." And that was really funny.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they want to maybe enjoy the music. But yeah, this I thought about when we were talking about CDs. A lot of CD releases um, in the Japanese market have bonus tracks just for the Japanese because um, and it may be because they get so much support from Japan. I mean,
Mm.
so many people like I think about that, and of course in the states, those CDs with those Japanese bonus tracks, go for more money. Of course, or like collectors items or something. But yeah, I see that a lot.
Yeah. So, is there a music scene in your area? Do concerts happen often?
Are you talking about American rock or
Uh,
Japanese local scene?
yes, Japanese local.
Yeah, of course we have a music scene, and you can say so many things about that. And are you talking about metal or music scene general?
Yeah. Rock and roll and metal.
Rock and roll and metal. Yeah. You know, after in the I mean, after the 21st century, Japanese heavy metal scene became. I noticed some things, and just like heavy metal general in the world, uh, we have this kind of genre bubble,
Mm.
subgenre. They
Yeah.
went into a certain bubble of subgenre,
Mm.
and in Japan, if talking about heavy metal, I think so many people went to otaku route. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Just like anime and manga, that kind of
Yeah. Yeah.
Akihabara, otaku, Japanese pop culture thing, and that kind of Japanese anime otaku culture
Mhm.
merged with heavy metal, and so many metal bands started playing like anime songs, and
Uh,
Mhm.
they started selling CDs at uh, anime conventions, and
mm,
but I didn't
That's
like that.
interesting.
I didn't like that
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
mm,
So
because
have you been to is it, how do you pronounce it, Budokan?
yeah,
Uh,
Budokan.
Budokan.
Budokan is basically it's an area music venue originally. It's a sports venue for
Oh,
Mhm.
like judo and karate and that kind of traditional martial arts sports
Okay.
venue.
really? Because
And
there's been
Budokan,
so many bands that have played there, like lots of live at Budokan albums,
Yeah.
so many
I
of
think
them.
Drink Theater is the first band I thought of.
Yeah,
I
Dream
think I
Theater,
think the
Osbourne.
I think
Mhm.
the first band who played the Budokan was the Beatles,
Oh,
Okay.
if I remember correctly. Mm,
I
Hmm.
know one of the best ones I think that I remember hearing was Cheap Trick. Live at
yeah.
Budokan is a great,
Mm,
great album.
mm.
Have you seen any shows there?
Yes, some bands. Uh, yeah, I saw some bands there
Mm,
at Budokan.
nice.
Mm.
Yeah. So how what is the meaning of your band? What does the band name mean?
Uh, we are called Imari Tones, and Imari is a name of the porcelain. Did I say it right? Porcelain art
Hmm.
from mainly from the 17th century uh, Edo era Japan. We had that kind of porcelain art, very beautiful,
Okay.
and that
Right.
porcelain and that was called Imari. And Imari porcelain was exported to Europe and was very popular back then.
Hmm.
And so it means that Japanese traditional porcelain art. Uh, our band was named after that, and
Okay.
it's cool because it's a Japanese art and it's a traditional art, and it was
Hmm.
international because it was exported to overseas countries,
Right.
Mm.
and because now we are a Christian band. Porcelain means that's a jar of clay, so
Ah,
it sounds biblical.
Hmm.
Um, because we are just jars of clay, but God puts good things in it, and God
mm,
puts this kind of beautiful art on those porcelain
Yeah.
yeah.
dish, and
Um,
yeah, but actually, uh, the real reason I named my band Imari Tones was because of my wife. It's really funny um, because she is now in a band. She joined 5 years ago after a long time bassist and drummer quit.
Hmm.
And my wife, her stage name is Marie, but her real name is Imari. So
oh,
basically, I named my band after my wife,
yeah,
Awesome.
um, because
very nice.
Yeah, because the name was very unique and beautiful and very Japanese.
I
I love it. Yeah.
Nice.
Mm.
So, what year did your band form?
Uh, it sounds funny, but uh, it sounds funny, but I'm not really sure because I started recording music back in 1998 when I was
Okay.
really young, and after that, it became a band, and it was I think it was in 2004. So I always say our band was formed back in 2004.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I we still count those records I made
Yeah,
just by myself independently. Before that,
sure.
we still count them as Imari Tones albums. So
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
when exactly it started, I'm not really sure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean that's over 20 years, 2 decades. And I believe looking at your website, you have at least 23 albums that you've released, which is that's pretty impressive. Uh, what led you to your journey of faith from where you grew up to becoming a Christian to starting making history and literally starting the first ever Christian metal band out of Japan?
It's a long story, and God has planted so many seeds in my life along the way.
Yeah.
Uh, but it was back in December 2007. Uh, I saw a gospel singer perform. I saw a
Okay.
Christian singer songwriter uh, at some place, and her name was Yutaka Hagiwara, and uh, she was not that famous,
Mm-hmm.
but she was working for uh, this gospel music label, gospel music company called Miktamu, uh,
Hmm.
Okay.
which is uh, hosted by uh, a famous gospel singer called Kosaka Chu, Chu Kosaka. But
Cool.
I saw this lady perform, Yutaka Hagiwara, and I was really inspired by what she was doing, but she was playing, and she didn't say it. She didn't say that, but somehow I sensed, somehow I understood that she was playing music for God, and
Yeah.
I thought it was really awesome and uh, very much inspired. I was moved, and I thought maybe I can do this too. And
Hmm.
I didn't started playing music to be famous nor successful because
Sure.
Right.
I was always looking for some kind of spiritual truth, behind music, and but I didn't really know what it was, but
Hmm.
because I saw this Christian singer songwriter, I saw her performance and I was really moved, and we became friends, and she
Oh.
intro and she introduced me to some church in Yokohama, and she gave me the Bible, and I read that. I read the Bible, especially like New Testament,
Mhm.
gospel books like uh, Matthew's gospel and
Right.
John's gospels, and
Sure.
Mhm.
to me, everything made sense because
Yeah.
to me it looked like it looked like Jesus was the first ever rock and roller who walked on the earth.
Yes.
Because what he said and what he did in the Bible, it's very rock and roll, and it's like I don't know how to say it in English, but he was really cool. he was
Is
Right. Exactly.
he was
punk rock.
defying, yeah, punk rock, yeah, he was defying
Yeah.
all those rules,
Right.
and
Right.
you know yeah, that kind of punk rock thing, rock and roll spirit. So
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
wow, so Jesus was the first ever and probably the greatest rock and roller who walked on the earth.
Mhm.
So
Love
maybe
it.
I have to follow this guy, and
Yeah.
I decided to dedicate my music to God,
I
Jesus,
love it.
and now I knew the reason. Now I knew the truth behind music and art and everything,
There
and
you go.
mm,
Yeah.
and we started playing
So good.
Christian metal.
So what percentage would you say in Japan are Christian?
I don't know the exact number, but at least when I started, uh, the statistics and Wikipedia and those statistics
Mhm.
things said only 1% is Japanese
Mhm.
population is Christian,
Oh,
and
wow.
probably that number slightly went up, hopefully,
Mm-hmm.
but
Sure.
I'm guessing that's because now we have so many immigrants from overseas.
Yeah.
So if you look at pu- purely in Japanese population, that number is still small, I guess. Mm.
Right. Right. Right.
But hopefully,
Right.
I think our society, Japanese society, is changing. Things are getting more and more international, and people are getting more and more open to Christianity. I hope.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Mm. and and we have more now we are having better reactions, better receptions from Japanese audience than
That's
before
good.
in Japan.
Oh,
Mm,
nice.
mm,
Yeah, I was gonna say because with there being so many non-Christians, have you gotten um, backlash from people, both in the metal community and outside the metal community for being a Christian? Lee?
in Japan,
Yeah, in Japan and also in the music scene in Japan.
you mean the difficulties of being a Christian in Japan?
Right,
Yeah,
right.
that's true. That's really true. And there's so many aspects, like family issues and social
Hmm.
issues, including workplace and general social uh, connecting. Like because we have this Buddhism and Shinto custom uh,
Right.
in our Japanese culture, society, and so we have lots of problems if you are Christian, and
Mm,
so even if you get to believe in Jesus, even if you want to be a Christian or something like that. This kind of social difficulties and social barriers that uh, prevent prevents people prevent people from like living a Christian lifestyle.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that kind of social and lifestyle barriers we have very much in Japanese society.
Mm,
Mm, that's true.
Hmm. What
yeah.
about churches? How are churches doing in that area?
In Japan, generally speaking, churches are very small, and and especially compared to your country, compared to the United States, churches in Japan are very small, and I still remember when some friend from the United States told me, like, I asked them about their churches, and he said, like, oh, our church is very very small, like we have only like 100 persons or something like that. And that's really funny because in Japan, if you have 100 people in a church, that's huge. That's a huge church. And
Yeah.
so many churches in Japan, they don't have a church building. They rent a
Oh,
place, like public
yeah.
place, and sometimes we use a music studio, like rehearsal places,
Wow.
because it's
Hmm.
cheap.
Sure.
Yeah, so mm, churches in Japan,
Yeah. I,
very fewer and smaller, and so when we tour in the United States, sometimes they let us stay. Like in the
right.
past, we worked with the Extreme Tour. That Have you heard of them? The Extreme Tour, the
Okay.
grassroots style Christian music tour. We worked
Hmm.
we worked with them a couple times in the past, and they were like 5 bands touring together, and they let us stay in churches, and that's no problem in the United States because churches in the United States are big. But in Japan, staying one band staying at a church, that's like, wow, very
Mm,
difficult because churches are small,
yeah.
and also very many churches are very closed, so
Mm,
they don't welcome new people. So
okay.
Interesting.
things are very
Yeah.
Yeah.
different. Mm.
I have another church question real quick. So, do you ever play guitar in church?
You mean worship music?
Yeah, like any of that.
I mean, now we are in 2024, so by now, so many churches, especially younger churches, they play worship music using
Mhm.
guitars, whether it be electric or acoustic. Uh, they play some kind of modern worship music translated into Japanese, and that's another
Okay.
issue. When they translate English worship music into Japanese language, very often they sound unnatural, weird,
Mm,
Right.
and
sure.
even though those serious Christian people, they go Hallelujah, oh so good, but probably regular Japanese people, when they hear that kind of translated worship songs, they they probably think it's weird.
Yeah.
So this kind of translation issue we have in Japanese Christian culture, and that's one thing we have to overcome.
Okay.
And that's not only about language, but also culture context. So many American churches, American Christian people, like pastors and missionary, they come to
Yeah.
Japan, and they do it in their way. They do it in American way, and
Yeah.
that usually that doesn't work. So
Sure.
Mm.
they have to
That makes sense. Yeah.
they have to learn Japanese culture and Japanese culture context and
Right.
language.
Right. Yeah.
So
That makes sense.
so that's the difficult part about missionary in Japan, Christianity. When you try to spread Jesus, when you try to tell Japanese people about Christianity, you have to think about Japanese culture and its context.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
So, are you a fan of Loudness?
I think so. Mm.
You think so?
Yeah,
The band?
but if you talk about Japanese metal hard rock from 1980s, probably I'm more of a Earthshaker fan.
Okay.
Okay.
And
And also,
I also love Anthem, Japanese metal band from the 80s called Anthem.
Anthem?
Anthem.
Okay.
They're awesome
Yeah.
too.
Are,
I
are
love
you a
loudness.
fan? Yeah. Are you a fan of baby metal?
Not really.
No. I I never could get into them. I listened to some of their songs, but yeah, it's different. Yeah.
I think pop culture. If you think about pop culture, I think it's cool, but musically, it doesn't inspire me.
Sure.
And you
So,
can say so many things about Japanese J-pop, like girls groups,
Oh God.
boys groups, and you can say so many things about those J-pop music, but
so what's better, J-pop or K-pop?
I don't want to talk about that.
I understand.
I better not.
I
I better
understand.
not.
That's yeah. There, no worries. No worries at all. Oh wow. So yeah. So as far as guitar playing, one thing I noticed about your music, from what I've heard, is that you do play a traditional style of metal, classic
I
metal,
think so.
so to speak. But also, I hear like time signature changes, tempo changes, and stuff like that. So, do you also listen to progressive music like Rush or those kind of bands?
It's funny. It's true. We have some time changes, like odd time signatures. You say that kind of
Mhm.
song writing style we have in our music. That's true. But to tell you the truth, I'm not really a prog rock guy, and
Mm.
I'm a simple person, so I want to make it simple.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And it's it's true. We are very often compared to Rush because of some reasons. We are three
Sometimes both too.
persons, and another reason is my singing voice is kind of sound like Geddy Lee.
Mhm.
Uh, Good or bad, I don't know. And yeah, so songwriting style, oftentimes people compare our music to Rush. Mm. But I'm not really a prog rock guy, and probably I was more influenced by alternative music from the 90s, and indie rock music from indie and electronic stuff from the 2000s noughties. and we and I have some favorite bands from those eras, 90s and 2000s, and so this kind of prog rock time signature thing and funny sounding song structure is it's an influence from those indie rock and alternative rock, I have to say. So,
Okay.
but we
Nice.
are more like hard rock metal styles. So when
Yeah.
combined into that kind of classic metal style, we somehow end up sounding like prog rock or Rush.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Mm.
yeah, yeah.
I love it.
If if you could pick any two bands to go on tour with, who would that be?
Two bands to tour with, like famous legendary bands.
Whoever your dream bands, whoever you want to. If you could say, "Man, I would go on tour with this band and this band," who would that be?
I don't really have those dream bands, to tell you the truth.
Okay,
Uh,
sure.
because I don't believe in music business, and I didn't believe in success in the beginning. In the beginning, like I said, I didn't start to play music to be successful, so I'm not very interested in success or, I mean, fame or that kind of stuff. But
Sure.
uh, I'm a, as you can see, I think it's really easy to tell, but I'm a huge Van Halen fan.
Okay.
There you go.
Mm.
Man, yeah.
So yeah,
Have
Van
you
Halen.
ever got to see them live? Did you ever get to see them in concert?
Yeah, I think I saw them like 3 or 4 times.
Wow,
Wow.
Mm.
nice. I
And
I
Yeah.
never saw them. I only saw the singer uh, solo. I didn't see. Uh, yeah.
I think I saw them. I saw all three singers,
Oh wow.
three versions.
Do you have a favorite of the three?
I love them both. So yeah, it's funny because when you talk about Van Halen, they always go like, "Oh, I prefer Sammy, I prefer Dave," or something like that. But
Yeah.
I love them. I love them all. All versions of
Yeah.
I
Van Halen
do.
is great. Are great.
Yeah.
Mm.
I do too. I like them all. Yeah, David Lee Roth is the one I saw him open for Kiss.
Wow.
I've never seen Sammy Hagar, but he is touring right now
Yeah.
playing Van
You
Halen
should.
song.
Yes.
Yeah.
I had that. Yeah. I think so.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So because Van Halen is basically normal, probably the dream band, my dream band I want to tour with is Eddie Van Halen's son.
Oh
Oh,
yeah. Wolfgang.
Yeah,
Wolfgang
Wolfgang.
Van
Yeah.
Halen.
They are called Mammoth, WVH.
Man, correct. Yeah.
So that would be cool. Mm.
Yeah, that would be nice.
All right. So here's a question. You have a lot of albums, of course. What album has been everyone's favorite?
Mm.
And yeah, I'll start there. I have a part two question later.
Yeah, about recording and making music, it's really funny because we are basically an indie band, And
Mm-hmm.
basically we always record our music by ourselves and independently,
Mm-hmm.
and most of the time we didn't have that kind of record contract or anything. Sometimes
Yeah.
we did, and in the past we did some recordings with some famous producers. Like in the past, once we recorded in Germany in a big studio with a German producer called Sasha Pieth. Uh, mm,
Okay.
but most of the time we made music independently, totally independently. So that's why we have so many albums, and
Yeah.
I,
So
I
many.
think it's really hard for people. It's really difficult for people to uh, start know like where to start. It's difficult to find where to start. So that's why we just released the best of album
Mm-hmm.
earlier this year. We released the best of album, and it's more like a playlist because because we wanted to give people where to start. So
Okay.
you can listen to this first because it's the best of selection.
Now
So that's a
that
Okay.
that's the newest release is the
yeah
best of.
yeah that's the newest
So
Okay.
because
release.
yeah, on your website you have the Two Rome EP released in 2022. Was that your newest like music that you recorded?
Yes, I think so. And we have one album ready. We recorded one album last year, so
Okay.
now we
Nice.
have to prepare. Now we are preparing for the another album, new album release,
Okay.
and
Mm-hmm.
so that's the best of album is a good place to start. But
Okay.
uh, we have one or two albums mm, that has been people's favorite, and one album we have to mention is Jesus Wind album. It's called Jesus Wind. We released it back in 2017, and
Oh, the one with the swords on the front,
it's a
right? The ones with the swords on the front. Yeah.
swords, yeah, cross swords,
Yeah. Okay.
and that one
Uh-huh.
is a concept album about Japanese history, and
Oh, nice.
from a Christian spiritual viewpoint. And so it's a concept album. It's a and if you know that our music is kind of so many music style mixed, but on Jesus Wind it's like more intense, heavy metal album from
Yeah.
start to finish. So
I love that.
it's a more serious album than the others in our catalog.
Mm-hmm.
But people love. So many people say Jesus Wind is their favorite, and I think yeah, I think I agree because it's probably the most powerful heavy metal album we ever made. So mm,
Okay.
Cool.
and obviously Jesus Wind, that album title is uh, named because we have in Japan we have kamikaze. Kamikaze means
Mm-hmm.
God wind, and historically, this kamikaze God wind means so much to Japanese people, like culture and history, because Japanese people generally believes Japan is a country of God, and and
Okay.
Mm,
and this God wind protects Japan from their enemy. That's what people
mm-hmm.
believe in Japan. So, but
Okay.
But instead of God win, we wanted to say Jesus win because we believe Japan belongs to Jesus.
Amen.
Love it.
Yeah, that's man. That's a powerful. That's a powerful thing. So, what are some other Christian bands that you do shows with in your area?
Uh, excuse me, pardon me.
So, are there Christian bands that you do shows, concerts with in your area?
You mean Japanese bands?
Yeah.
You mean Japanese Christian bands?
Mhm.
Okay.
There's only two of them. No, no.
Yeah,
Like, it's still the only one. No, I'm
it's
just.
a totally different topic. And if you talk about Japanese Christian music scene, things are really difficult. Obviously,
Okay.
Christianity is really small, and we have
Hmm.
this little Japanese Christian community, and we have this community of Japanese gospel musicians, and it's a really small community, so it's like everybody knows everybody kind of
Mm.
Okay.
scene,
All right.
and
Yeah.
most of them play churches. Mm.
Gotcha.
But sometimes we have rock bands, and
Okay.
sometimes some of them are brave enough to play like regular clubs, regular venues. I mean, outside of
Mhm.
churches.
Right.
Mm.
Oh,
But
yeah.
and
Yeah.
we had some bands like that. We had some Christian bands, Christian rock bands, and we still have some of them. Mm. Uh, and
But very few.
most of them are friends of ours.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
But we
cool.
don't have so many.
Do you
Mm.
do you know of any other Christian metal bands in Japan at this point? I mean, I know you were the first, but have there been any more in the last 20 years that you're aware of?
I mean, uh, let me tell you. So we became a Christian band back in like 2008, and we
Okay.
decided to call ourselves the first Christian heavy metal band from Japan. And
Sure.
Hmm.
we we kind of expected someone come to us and say, "Hey, we are the first, not you." But
Yeah.
unfortunately, that didn't happen.
Ah.
And we still hear some kind of rumor like this guitar player tried to do something like Striper back in the 80s in some churches, or that kind of rumor. We still hear, but still, and there was one pastor's band that played some kind of hard rock and mixture kind of music back in the 90s, but that was not really metal,
Okay.
and they were basically a pastor's bands, and so it looks like in fact we were the first to like officially say we are Christian metal, and probably
Yeah.
that's
Right.
we were the
Eh,
first. And after that, uh, after that, we saw one band. I think that was back in
Hmm.
2015 or 16. Uh, we found one band that said, uh, we were influenced by Striper, and we were pastors' sons, and now we start playing Christian metal just like Striper, and
Yeah.
we don't tell you that I don't I'm not gonna tell you the band name. So we I mean we and our friends Christian rock friends, uh, we were playing shows together. So one of our friends contacted them and asked them to play a show together because we were a group of Christian rock bands,
Right.
and just after that, they changed their band name, and they took down this Christian metal sign, and
Mm.
they started playing regular metal music. So
Ah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, like
so
section.
probably they were not a real deal.
Right.
Mm.
Right.
Yeah.
And if you Google it, we had a side project band called Atsuki Ryo with Jesus Mode.
Mm.
Okay.
So that's another band, Christian metal band from
What
Japan.
style? What style of, was that metal too?
Yeah, it was metal, and I know Imari
Cool.
Tones. Our band Imari Tones is something like classic metal, but Jesus Mode,
Yeah, yeah, of
Atsuki
course.
Ryo with Jesus Mode, they were more straightforward 80s metal. Mm.
Oh,
Hmm.
okay, awesome.
So you can check them out. We had 2 EPs out, and one good news is very recently, we have some Japanese Brazilian friends, and and because Japanese society is getting more and more international, we have this kind of international community in Japan communities, and there is a Japanese Brazilian community, and some of our friends in those Brazilian Japanese community, they started a Christian death metal band called
Yeah, there we go.
Nakamine.
That's
Mm.
what I was
And we played some shows together. Mm.
Oh,
okay.
very nice.
So
I love it.
maybe some Japanese people don't consider them a Japanese band because they are more of a international band with
But
from
Um.
but they live
yeah,
there.
but they are Japanese Brazilian, and they live in Japan. They are from Japan,
Yeah.
so I think I
What?
think they are Christian death metal band from Japan.
There you go. And what's the name of the band?
Anakurino.
You should you or them post some of their music in their Facebook group so people can check them out.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. Yeah, they have an Instagram, and I'm not sure if they already released some music, like
Okay.
properly recorded music. I don't know, but yeah, they
Ah,
have an Instagram.
you can definitely promote them in the group though. That'd be
Mm.
awesome.
Yeah, I will. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, cool. You know what? So I really only have one more question. It's one of my favorite to ask. So here's the question: what is your favorite thing about being a Christian?
Favorite thing about being a Christian?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like that question is too big, I think.
Mm.
Like, you know,
It makes you think.
it's like asking, what's your favorite thing of being alive? I don't know, like everything.
Like,
But
yeah.
one thing I found, but I one thing I found it is really uh it may sound lazy, but
No,
sometimes
it's
when
fine.
I write songs, I open the Bible and basically quote those Bible stories and Bible verses,
A lot of people do
and,
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
and just by quoting some Bible verses, instantly we get instantly I get very heavy metal sounding lyrics. and
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
think and I think that's
absolutely.
really cool. And yeah,
Absolutely.
I
Yes, I
love it.
love
very
that.
That
often,
is so good.
I read the Bible and I go like, wow, this is very metal.
Yes.
So I think that's
Yeah.
one cool thing about being a Christian
Mhm.
and a metalhead.
Yeah. I
Mm.
love
There you go.
that's all.
I love it,
That's
man.
Mm.
So, Tack, what can the Christian metal community do to support Imari Tones?
um, I don't know, if you spread the word, you know, we will be happy. And one thing we always want to do, and uh, like we want to start a heavy metal church. We want to build a heavy metal church in Japan, and
Oh,
Love it.
wow.
we are
Go
working on
for
it,
it.
and we've been working on it since last year, and we are
Okay.
starting small, but that's like our biggest dream. Building
Awesome.
a heavy
Awesome.
metal church in Japan, and probably we want to tour like overseas, not only in the
Hmm.
United States, but like other countries like Asia and
Sure.
South America, and you know, everywhere.
Yeah. Even
Yeah,
Australia.
Australia,
Yeah.
like maybe Middle East, Europe, Africa.
Yeah.
Like being yeah,
Nice. That would be awesome.
I know we are an independent band. We are basically just an indie band, but we want to tour the world. Mm.
Sure.
That's and we want we are willing to make it happen.
Cool.
I love to hear that. Well, man, I appreciate your time. This has been a great interview.
Yes.
Um, yeah. Thanks, man. If y'all haven't heard of Imari Tones, go check them out. I'll put their link in below the video. Have a great day.
God bless you all.
ありがとうございます。
And God bless you.